Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Absolute Resonance Part 12 based on novel. So let's start. Bright incandescent lamps illuminated the massive reception room. The portly President Lu with a face full of smiles was sitting right in the front. A tall and well-built middle-aged man with an imposing aura was sitting opposite him. This was the Song family's head, Song Shan. They were clearly in the midst of a discussion when Lu Qing'e led Li Luo and Cai Wei into the room, directly interrupting their conversation. Song Shan was slightly taken aback by these new proceedings. However, once he saw Li Luo and Cai Wei, the smile on his face receded slightly and his expression turned a little apathetic. President Lu was similarly astonished, but before he could speak, Lu Qing'e gently said, "Second uncle, the people from House Loulan are here." When he noticed the look in his niece's eyes, his lips twitched slightly as though he wanted to say something. Despite the sudden developments, he reacted quickly and started nodding his head. "Since you're here, why don't you quickly take a seat?" Song Shan immediately placed the teacup in his hand on the table with neither too much nor too little force and frowned at President Lu. "President Lu, could you kindly explain what is going on?" President Lu chuckled and replied, "The Song family's head need not overthink things. Our Golden Dragon Bank believes that harmony breeds wealth after all. At the same time, we also have another condition, that is the goods sold by the Golden Dragon Bank must be of certain quality. First-grade spirit liquids and purifying lights can be considered lower in grade, but we also require them to be of the highest quality. Otherwise, our reputation would be tarnished. Hence, we will have to do a final selection." Li Luo and Cai Wei immediately took their seats and nodded in agreement. President Lu is truly wise. Song Shan's expression turned cold, as if he'd been submerged in freezing water. He indifferently glanced at the duo before removing all pretenses of politeness whilst playing with the teacup in his hands. "President Lu, let's not waste any more time. The Sun Creek Villa's Azure Jade Spirit Liquid cannot compare with my Pine Nut Villa's wondrous Sunshine Light. We have absolutely trashed them in the market in terms of sales and performance. The difference in tempering strength is vast, and I'm sure President Lu has already done his own investigations on this. Frankly speaking, there is no one within the Qianshu province with the ability to produce a first-grade purifying light that can surpass ours. It's impossible. If President Lu feels that the Sun Creek Villa truly is the better choice, you can say so directly and the Pine Nut Villa will pull out of this competition." Song Shan truly was a bold individual. He had spoken convincingly and without holding back, directly stating the truth. President Lu chortled to diffuse the tension. "Please don't be angry. I am aware of the Pine Nut Villa's high-quality wondrous sunshine light. However, we also have to let others demonstrate their capabilities in the spirit of fairness. If your product is the best at the end of the selections, I will have to sincerely apologize to you." Song Shan's expression immediately eased up upon hearing those words, then he continued to banter with President Lu for a bit more. Occasionally, he would glance briefly at Li Luo and Cai Wei, a cold smirk on his face. He knew all about the Sun Creek Villa's internal situation. For a long time, the position of president had been left unoccupied. Yang Lingqing and Zhuang Yu were constantly scuffling, neither willing to give in, and chaos roiled the villa. In the end, Li Luo had been sent to the Golden Dragon Bank to compete against their Pine Nut Villa. That brat clearly couldn't fathom how high the heavens were. Did he really think that his position as a young lord was worth anything? Song Yunfeng was sitting next to Song Shan, expressionlessly watching the show. Lu Qing'e, on the other hand, was standing beside President Lu. She was a slender beauty, looking pure and sweet, a completely different sort of beauty compared to the mature Cai Wei. Unfortunately, her gaze held a trace of doubt and worry. She understood that if Li Luo was unable to bring out first-grade spirit liquids that were at least comparable, there would be no chance of her second uncle choosing the Sun Creek Villa. On top of that, Song Shan and Song Yunfeng would only look down on them even more. Once President Lu placated Song Shan, he immediately looked towards Li Luo and Cai Wei. "The two of you should also understand the Golden Dragon Bank's requirements. First-grade spirit liquids and purifying lights might be considered low-grade, but we require a minimum tempering strength of 55%. Anything less than that will not be considered. Cai Wei gave a confident smile. President Lu, the Pine Nut Villa's wondrous sunshine light have a tempering strength that barely reaches 56%, is that right? Barely? Song Shan's eyelids twitched upon hearing her derogatory comment. General Manager Cai is truly arrogant. If I recall, the Sun Creek Villa's high-quality products barely reach 52%. Well, as the head of the Song family, you ought to know that this is all in the past. Cai Wei smirked. Li Luo immediately placed the box he had brought atop the table, revealing the 40 bottles of azure jade spirit liquid for all to see. President Lu, let me introduce you to our newest product from the Sun Creek Villa. This is our enhanced azure jade spirit liquid. Its tempering strength is 60%, Cai Wei announced in a gentle and soft tone. 60%? Both President Lu and Song Shan's expressions fluctuated greatly, the former looking very surprised, the latter coldly smiling. President Lu waved his hand and an attendant arrived with a tempering measurement needle. After inserting it into the liquid of one of the bottles, the group closely scrutinized the result as it stabilized at the 60% mark. It really does possess 60% tempering strength, President Lu said in shock. Song Shan indifferently replied, the Sun Creek Villa truly has many tricks up their sleeve. The only question here is which third or fourth grade resonance artificer produced this azure jade spirit liquid. Could it have been one of those two fourth grade resonance artificers of the Sun Creek Villa? President Lu was lost in thought for a brief moment. A first grade spirit liquid was extremely low grade. If a few third or even a fourth grade resonance artificers opted to lend a hand to refine this, then attaining a 60% tempering strength spirit liquid would not be hard. However, wasting a skilled resonance artificer's time to produce such a spirit liquid would essentially be a huge loss for the Sun Creek Villa. Using their time to create third-grade spirit liquids and purifying lights would be significantly more efficient in terms of value, vastly surpassing the profits first-grade spirit liquids could bring. Song Shan's subtle meaning was that the Sun Creek Villa was willing to go to any means to achieve their goals, even if they had to get their third-grade resonance artificers to refine a batch of these spirit liquids and purifying lights. President Lu turned to look at Li Luo. Young Lord, you must understand that what the Golden Dragon Bank requires is not just a single batch. These orders will continue over an extended period of time. If the Sun Creek Villa is unable to reliably produce spirit liquids of a similar tempering strength, that would not be pleasant for any of us. Song Shan indifferently drank 2 sips of tea. He obviously did not believe that the Sun Creek Villa had the ability to consistently produce azure jade spirit liquid with 60% tempering strength. Could they really afford to constantly sacrifice the time of third-grade resonance artificers to refine these low-grade goods? If they truly did so, it would just be a matter of time before the Sun Creek Villa collapsed due to their foolishness. Li Luo faced President Lu's questioning gaze directly, remaining as calm as before. President Lu, please rest assured. House Loulan is a big family with big businesses and corresponding interests. We would not act foolishly over such a small matter. We wouldn't be so foolish as to use our third or fourth grade resonance artificers to refine such low-grade spirit liquids and purifying lights. This is something House Loulan would never do. If President Lu chooses to purchase our azure jade spirit liquid, I can guarantee that the Sun Creek Villa will be able to produce this reliably in the long run. Additionally, the tempering strength will be no lower than 60%. In fact, all of the azure jade spirit liquid produced by the Sun Creek Villa will be of the enhanced version. We will produce the best first-grade spirit liquids and purifying lights in the entire Jiangsu province. Looking at how calmly Li Luo had responded, President Lu felt his heart quaking. Could it be that the Sun Creek Villa could reliably improve the quality of their azure jade spirit liquid without relying on the assistance of third-grade resonance artificers? Li Luo had given his guarantee on it. He wasn't the only one who was shaken by this fact. Song Yunfeng and Song Shan were equally shocked by this revelation. Li Luo was simply too confident, and it looked like he was speaking the truth. Even Song Shan started to question himself. Did the Sun Creek Villa's azure jade spirit liquid have some sort of breakthrough in quality? How could this be possible? Just half a month ago, the Sun Creek Villa's Azure Jade Spirit liquid could barely reach 52% tempering strength. How could it have improved so greatly in half a month's time? If that was not the case, then how could Li Luo declare so confidently that they would be able to produce this enhanced Azure Jade Spirit liquid for the long run? The entire room was plunged into a brief period of silence. Lu Qing'e, on the other hand, was looking at the box of spirit liquids with renewed interest. She was surprised too, and she had a strong feeling that this had to do with Li Luo. President Lu's plump hand grasped a bottle of Azure Jade Spirit liquid and he paused in deep thought. A few moments later, his face burst out into a smile and he looked at Song Shan. Apologetically, he addressed him. Song family's head, I believe we are temporarily unable to cooperate with you. Song Shan did not burst out in anger upon hearing those words. Instead, he placed his teacup down and gave a resigned smile. President Lu, I believe we will have further opportunities to collaborate in the future. Since you've made your decision, we will take our leave. Ha ha. If the Sun Creek Villa's goods ever have issues, please come and find our Pine Nut Villa instead. Song Shan truly had the grace and magnanimity expected of a family head. He was not put down by Li Luo's ambush and instead even gave Li Luo a smile. The young lord is young and capable. I heard that you even managed to fight my son to a draw during the preliminary examinations. It looks like House Loulan will be in good hands. I'm sure that it will have a limitless future. Li Luo courteously replied as well. It was merely a fluke. Song Shan simply smiled, no longer speaking, directly leading a glum Song Yunfeng away. Once the two Songs took their leave, President Lu made his way to Li Luo with a hearty smile. I've heard from Qing'e that you've resolved your issue with the Blank Palace. That is truly a cause for celebration. But before that, why don't we sign an agreement regarding the Azure Jade Spirit liquid? Cai Wei immediately took this as her cue to walk forward and directly settled the conditions with President Lu. Whilst the two were busily discussing the terms, Li Luo stretched lazily. Lu Qing'e walked over at this moment. Congratulations. It's all thanks to you. Otherwise, things might have gotten dicey. Li Luo thanked her sincerely. Without Lu Qing'e's help, the Song family might have signed the contract with the Golden Dragon Bank before they got a chance to hawk their wares. The situation would have been extremely tricky in that scenario. Lu Qing'e waved her hand and reminded him, however, you need to put in more effort. Don't forget about the college final examinations that are coming up. The biggest regret will be if you miss out on the opportunity to enter the Astral Sage College. Li Luo nodded in agreement. All of a sudden, Lu Qing'e spoke out. Are you free during this holiday? I have no one to spar and exchange pointers with. If you're free, come and spar with me. It's mutually beneficial. Do you take me for a sandbag? No, Li Luo hastily said. He was speechless. How could this even work out? Upon hearing his reply, she gave him a faint smile and glared at him for a good few seconds before swiftly turning to leave. Outside the Golden Dragon Bank, in the Song family's carriage. Now that there was no one else around, Song Shan's expression turned incomparably gloomy. The Sun Creek Villa had indeed been heavily suppressed by their Pine Nut Villa in recent times. Who would have expected them to counterattack with such a vicious blow, directly slapping them across their faces? Although the cooperation with the Golden Dragon Bank would not be significantly profitable, the crux was that it would raise the reputation of their wondrous sunshine light. It would further cement their position in the Jiangsu province's first-grade spirit liquids and purifying lights market. However, it had all been ruined by Li Luo. Dad, can the Sun Creek Villa reliably produce Azure Jade Spirit liquid with 60% tempering strength? Song Yunfeng couldn't help but ask. Song Shan gave an insipid reply. We will have to wait and see. This is truly a vicious blow. We've paid a huge price to tap into elder sister's connections and invited an expert resonance artificer to improve upon our wondrous sunshine lights formula. In the end, Song Yunfeng lamented. This is just first-grade purifying lights. Song Shan shook his head. Even if the Sun Creek Villa wins this battle, they will not be able to win the war against the Pine Nut Villa. Your elder sister has already sent news that she's about to return to the city of South Wind. At that point, she will directly take over the Pine Nut Villa and we will naturally be victorious. Song Yunfeng revealed a look of excitement. His elder sister, Song Chuyu, was a student of the Astral Sage College's Resonance Tempering Hall with outstanding achievements. With her support, the Pine Nut Villa would truly have a pillar to rely on. The most important thing now is the college final examinations. I hope that you will be able to regain the face that you've lost, Song Shan stated coldly. I will bring you with me on a trip to the governor's mansion for the next 2 days. Shi Huang, the son of the governor, is East Pool Academy's #1 student and also the same age as you. Perhaps the two of you can get along and become fast friends. Governor's mansion? Song Yunfeng was a little startled at this. Shi Huang was South Wind Academy's greatest fear in the upcoming college final examinations. With his background as the son of the governor, he was the most influential individual in the Jianshu province amongst the younger generation. He was head and shoulders above everyone in terms of background, with the exception of Li Luo. Of course, that would only be the case if House Loulan was in its golden era. No one would speak of Li Luo and Shi Huang in the same breath, whether in terms of influence or background. They were seemingly miles apart. On the second day, after the Golden Dragon Bank had finished signing a long-term agreement, Li Luo used his position as the young lord to convene a meeting of the senior management of the Sun Creek Villa. In the discussion hall, Vice President Zhuang Yi was late and even indifferently grumbled on his way in. My third-grade refining workshop is currently busy refining third-grade spirit liquids and purifying lights. Time is tight. We even have to make up for the gap left by the first-grade refining workshop. Upon sitting down, he immediately looked at Li Luo with a smile. I seek your understanding, young lord. It must have been hard on you, Li Luo replied courteously upon seeing that fake smile of his. The smile on his own handsome face never lessened. After all, the problem in the Sun Creek Villa would be finally solved today, and it would then continue to churn out endless profits for him. That way, he could buy even more spirit liquids and purifying lights. Why would he not be excited? Zhuang Yi felt a little uneasy upon seeing Li Luo's wide smile. However, he did not take this feeling to heart. Although Li Luo was the young lord, he wasn't in charge of anything, and technically Zhuang Yi was someone from Pei Hao's side. Li Luo could not easily get rid of him without rhyme or reason. Elder Zhengping was also in attendance as he was equally curious about why Li Luo would want to convene a meeting. As almost everyone was here, he started to speak. Young lord, please kindly enlighten us as to why you have gathered everyone here. Li Luo smiled. It's not about something frivolous. Elder, you did mention previously that the lack of a president posed a problem for the Sun Creek Villa. Zhengping was a little startled at how things were proceeding, and he immediately frowned. Did we not come to an agreement before? We will compare the results of the ones in charge of the refining workshops to decide the victor. Unfortunately, Vice President Yang seems to be at a significant disadvantage. Does the young lord want to change the rules for selection? These are the ironclad rules of the Sun Creek Villa. Even though you're the young lord, you cannot change these rules on a whim. That's improper, Zhuang Yi said. The rest of the management did not speak a single word. However, the expressions on their faces seemed to say that they were siding with Zhuang Yi. Faced with everyone's doubtful glares, Li Luo waved his hands. The rule is wonderful. There is no need to change it. I just want to say that the results are now out for everyone to see. The confusion in the eyes of everyone present continued to deepen. Even Zhuang Yi was a little taken aback before he gave an excited smile. Does the young lord want to crown me as the victor? Or did Vice President Yang take the initiative to give up? Upon hearing these words, the group of senior resonance artificers seemed to suddenly understand something. It was true that based on the rules, Zhuang Yi's third-grade refining workshop vastly outperformed the first and second-grade refining workshops. With such a huge difference, it was possible that Vice President Yang would have chosen to give up. Give up? In your dreams? Yang Lingqing's eyebrows arched in contempt as she gave a cold smile. Cai Wei lightly chuckled at this point. She took the agreement out and directly passed it to Elder Zhengping. Our Sun Creek Villa has signed an official contract with the Golden Dragon Bank. We will produce Azure Jade Spirit liquid for them on a long-term basis. After glancing through the document, Elder Shengping's expression suddenly changed. Azure Jade Spirit liquid with 60% tempering strength? Are you messing around? How can the Sun Creek Villa supply Azure Jade Spirit liquid with 60% tempering strength? Elder Shengping's face turned green and he slammed his palm against the table. He stared at Li Luo as he said in a heartbroken tone, "Young lord, how could you possibly have signed such an agreement? You're practically destroying the Sun Creek Villa's reputation by agreeing to this." Everyone in the discussion hall looked at the trio in shock after they heard the words spoken by Elder Shengping. They would never have expected them to come up with such an unbelievable contract. This was not a joke. The Sun Creek Villa's first-grade resonance artificers could not refine such a spirit liquid. Even Zhuangyi was flabbergasted, but internally he was jumping for joy. He didn't even have to act, as Li Luo had just dealt the death blow to Yang Lingqing himself. Azure Jade Spirit liquid with 60% tempering strength was simply impossible for the first-grade resonance artificers. "Hi," Zhuangyi heavily sighed as he raised his voice towards Cai Wei. The young lord might not be knowledgeable, but how could the general manager make the same mistake? He then turned his gaze to Elder Shengping and the rest and emotionally said, "Are they possibly hoping for our third-grade refining workshop to take on the task of refining all these Azure Jade Spirit liquids? This is clearly a ploy to destroy the Sun Creek Villa. I will never agree to this. Elder Shengping, you've seen for yourself what these people want to do. The Sun Creek Villa has to quickly select a president. Otherwise, if things proceed this way, we will no longer be welcome in the Tianshu province." Li Luo silently looked at the passionately speaking Zhuangyi, not putting a halt to his words. After Zhuangyi finished his outburst, he turned over to look at Elder Shengping with a steely, green complexion. "This contract will not require the help of any of the Sun Creek Villa's third-grade resonance artificers. It will be completely fulfilled by the first-grade refining workshop." Elder Shengping frowned as he said with a grave voice, "Young lord, our Sun Creek Villa's first-grade refining workshop simply does not possess this capability. That was in the past." Li Luo gave an indifferent smile as he picked up a box that was sitting by his feet. Upon opening it, he revealed dozens of bottles of enhanced Azure Jade Spirit liquid. "Elder Shengping, this will be the enhanced Azure Jade Spirit liquid produced by our Sun Creek Villa. The tempering strength will be at least 60%, and 40 bottles have already been provided to the Golden Dragon Bank. The remaining 10 are here for you to see. In the future, we will be producing a greater quantity of this enhanced Azure Jade Spirit liquid, up to a total of 300 a month. Based on their market value, the first-grade refining workshop will outperform the third-grade refining workshop." Each of Li Luo's words directly reverberated around the discussion hall, shocking everyone into silence. Everyone looked at him in complete stupefaction. It was as if they were enthralled by a bunch of fantastical tales. Enhanced Azure Jade Spirit liquid? What is that? I've never heard of this. Our Sun Creek Villa's first-grade refining workshop can produce Azure Jade Spirit liquid with 60% tempering strength? What kind of crap are you spouting? Zhuangyi resentfully shouted, his tone impolite. Perhaps he was feeling restless at the change of events. However, Li Luo's calm and collected demeanor didn't make him seem like someone who was spouting crazy words. The rest stared at each other blankly, while Elder Shengping remained deep in thought. He immediately took out a tempering measurement needle and directly pierced it into one of the Azure Jade Spirit liquid bottles. The result was clearly at the 60% mark. Everyone's eyes widened at the sight of the mind-boggling results. The enhanced Azure Jade Spirit liquid was not refined by Vice President Yang. The first-grade refining workshop has been sealed for the last few days, but it will be open to everyone later for you to see for yourself if you wish. Nothing that the young lord has said is false. All of the Azure Jade Spirit liquid produced by the Sun Creek Villa in the future will reliably be at 60% tempering strength. Cai Wei's soft and gentle words seemed to echo in the huge chamber. Even Elder Shengping was left in a daze. He could not imagine how this was possible. However, the facts in front of him spoke for themselves. This was not a farce, and Li Luo had no need to come up with an elaborate lie to trick them. Elder Zhongping finally recovered a while later, heavily sighing with a bitter smile. If what you say is true, the first-grade refining workshop will outperform the third-grade workshop. In this case, I hereby proclaim that Yang Lingqing will lead the Sun Creek Villa branch in the Jianshu province as the... I disagree, a visibly frustrated Zhuangyi screamed as he angrily slammed the table. There is definitely something strange going on. How can the first-grade refining workshop reliably produce 60% tempering strength azure jade spirit liquid? Elder Zhongping's expression turned solemn. It doesn't matter if you disagree. At the very least, there is a contract with the Golden Dragon Bank proving their point. Zhuangyi's expression turned green. I don't believe this. It's impossible. How can they reliably produce this enhanced azure jade spirit liquid? Li Luo immediately stood up and lifted the curtain at the front of the discussion hall. From where they stood, they could observe what was happening in the first-grade refining workshop. At the moment, there were first-grade resonance artificers busily refining spirit liquids. At the same time, someone collected the recently refined azure jade spirit liquid and brought it over to the discussion hall. When the box of enhanced azure jade spirit liquid was displayed in front of the group, no one doubted Li Luo's words any longer. How could they when the evidence was right in front of them? Zhuangyi's face turned incomparably pale as he plonked onto his seat, continuously murmuring to himself. Everyone knew that Zhuangyi had been on the cusp of victory. Yet the unimaginable had happened and his fall from grace was just too quick. That stubborn old man Elder Zhongping, on the other hand, had a face full of smiles. He stood up to make an announcement. From here on, Yang Lingqing will become the president of the Sun Creek Villa in the Jianshu province. Applause rang out in the discussion hall. Li Luo heaved a sigh of relief whilst leaning against a chair. This entire fiasco hadn't been easy. On the bright side, at least his money bag was safe for the time being. In order to celebrate Yang Lingqing's promotion to president, an extremely elated Yang Lingqing invited Li Luo and Cai Wei to join her in the evening. This was when Li Luo saw the true extent of her drinking stamina. Even more terrifying was Cai Wei matching her cup for cup heroically. The two were flushed from their relentless drinking, and Li Luo was left cowering in fear like a little quail. Li Luo, as long as you can increase that secret art water source support, I will definitely be able to make the Sun Creek Villa's spirit liquids and purifying lights the best in the whole Jianshu province. Red-faced and pumped full of liquid courage, Yang Lingqing turned a fiery and beautiful eye to Li Luo. Of course. I will do my best. Li Luo smiled and nodded. He was only at the 7th seal stage. If he could reach the resonant master stage, the quality of his resonant power would rise correspondingly. At that time, he would be able to provide even better water source. If the Sun Creek Villa could dominate the spirit liquids and purifying lights market in the Jianshu province, then House Loulan's annual profits would soar, allowing Li Luo to rise. Well then, preemptive toast. To the Sun Creek Villa's monopoly in the Jianshu province. Cai Wei gave a coy smile. The alcohol had relaxed her already pretty features, giving them a different but equally alluring look. The three touched their cups together with smiles. After helping Yang Lingqing settle the Sun Creek Villa's internal dispute, Li Luo felt a weight lift from his chest. In the following days, he was seen less often at the Sun Creek Villa. As the holidays were soon ending, Li Luo had another important matter to consider, the college final examinations. The college final examinations would determine who would be nominated to enter the Astral Sage College. As the most elite college in the Xia Kingdom, it was the holy grail for many young men and women. No power in the Xia Kingdom dared to look down upon the ability and status of the Astral Sage College. Before the Xia Kingdom had been founded, there had been other dynasties. These dynasties had come and gone, and still the Astral Sage College endured, a testament to its deep-rooted power. There were also rumors that there were king stage experts in the Astral Sage College. That was why even being the young lord of House Loulan was nothing compared to being an Astral Sage student. For Li Luo, there was no other option to secure a brighter future. Besides, there was that promise with Jiang Qing'e. The college final examinations would encompass all of the middle and high schools, and each would be able to send their 20 finest students to compete for places at Astral Sage. The number of places varied year on year, but generally speaking, the top 10 were more or less guaranteed to make it in, while things were less certain for the remaining. Therefore, Li Luo's target was to make it into that secure top 10. Reaching the top 10 won't be easy. Li Luo's face was creased with worry as he sat in the Sky Gold room, having just finished his training. Although Southwind Academy was the best school in the Jiangsu province, that was no reason to dismiss the other schools. Although most of the other schools' candidates were indeed largely not worthy of consideration, there would be a few capable ones amongst them, and those would add up to a considerable number indeed. Besides, there was also Southwind Academy's greatest threat and rival, Eastpool Academy. One could only imagine how hard it would be to break free from the cutthroat competition. Li Luo was at the 7th seal stage, and his water-light resonance should reach the 6th grade before the examinations. Still, it made him restless with worry. He was improving, but so were the others. Li Luo could not afford to take these examinations lightly. He focused seriously on his own abilities and techniques, and discovered a shortcoming. His most glaring weakness was the lack of a powerful offensive technique. Previously, against Song Yunfeng, he had managed to run rings around him and used his water mirror art to fight him to a draw. Impressive as it was, all the more did it declare Li Luo's lack of an offense. He did not pose a threat to Song Yunfeng in their fight. But this was not a problem limited to Li Luo, rather it was a challenge that all water resonance users faced. It lacked the destructive punch of the fire, metal, and lightning resonances. Of course, the water resonance held the edge in drawn-out battles, but that was too passive a style for Li Luo's taste. He had to think of a way to improve his offense. Other water resonance users might be stumped, but not Li Luo. He was not just a pure water resonance user, he was the ultra-rare water-light resonance user. Coming out of his musings, Li Luo got up and left the Sky Gold room, heading for his private library. Governor's Mansion, City of Southwind. Every citizen of the Xia Kingdom fell under the purview of the governors. The governor's mansions were therefore the centers of power and influence. Keek, my old friend Song, I have been wanting to invite you to the governor's mansion for some time now. A pity that I was just too busy recently and couldn't make time until today. From within the guest hall of governor's mansion, bright laughter. Its source was a gaunt middle-aged man. Although he was smiling, he had an authoritative bearing about him. This was the governor of the Jiangsu province, Xia Qing'e. He was a heavenly dipper general, the first sub-stage of the general stage. In a lower position near him sat the head of the Song family, Song Shan. The esteemed governor is always busy, of course you would not have time like us idle peasants, Song Shan replied laughingly. Brother Song, you mock me. Xia Qing'e smiled in response. He lifted up his teacup and looked at the leaves floating on the surface. He remarked casually, the Song family's movements have not been discreet lately. You must have enjoyed much at the expense of House Loulan. Song Shan replied, all thanks to the great governor. A pity, House Loulan. If those two had not disappeared, House Loulan might well have led the 5 great houses in the future. Xia Qing'e smiled humorlessly. Well, the brightest candles burn quickest. If not, he suddenly paused. House Loulan is floundering to keep its head above water. May the Song family treasure every opportunity, he said while looking at Song Shan. Many thanks to the governor for his instruction. Our Song family will definitely remember your grace. Xia Qing'e smiled and then changed the topic. From the nearby lake outside the guest hall, Song Yunfeng listened to the faint murmur of voices within and then cast his eyes towards the water. There was a white-clothed youth there, his hair trimmed short, save for a long ponytail at the back. His hands were full of fish food, and he was busy feeding the fish. After he was done, he dusted off his hands, then a maid respectfully offered a cloth. He casually wiped his hands and then came walking towards Song Yunfeng. As he neared, his features came into view, an ordinary-looking face, with a ghost of a smile hanging on his lips. But looking at this unremarkable-looking youth, a slight tingle of trepidation shot through Song Yunfeng. This was the governor's son, Xia Huang. He was also the top student at Eastpool Academy. Yunfeng, my father has said that in this year's college final examinations, I have to help East Pool Academy take the title of best school in the Jiangsu province, Shi Huang said with a smile. With senior brother Shi Huang's abilities, it seems entirely probable, Song Yunfeng replied. Not at all. Your South Wind Academy's Lu Qing'e is no slouch. She will make a formidable opponent, Shi Huang said. Song Yunfeng nodded in agreement. He knew of Lu Qing'e's strength. Although I do not fear her, I dislike unknown factors. Therefore, I might need your cooperation on some matters regarding the college final examinations, Shi Huang stated mildly. Song Yunfeng's face changed, and he frowned, troubled. Senior brother Shi Huang, are you asking me to betray South Wind Academy? Sheesh, you make it sound so ugly. Do you really think of South Wind Academy as your own family? It is but a stepping stone in our journey of cultivation. As long as you clinch a top 10 spot, you'll naturally be able to advance to the Astral Sage College. At that time, will you even care about South Wind Academy? Shi Huang chortled. Anyway, don't worry. I won't ask you to do anything too noticeable. He sketched a casual gesture in the air. It is also my father's will. The dean of South Wind Academy had a feud with my father in the past. He tried to stop my father's rise at every turn. Therefore, the golden title of best school in the Jiangsu province must be taken away from him. Song Yunfeng thought about this for a long time, and finally nodded in a pained way. Only then did a warm smile fill Shi Huang's face. He reached out and gently patted Song Yunfeng's shoulder. Oh, and I hear Li Luo has a resonance now? And you two fought to a draw? Song Yunfeng's eyes clouded upon hearing those words, and he said stiffly, he pulled a fast one on me, that's all. If we meet in the exams, he has no chance of even a draw. I see. Shi Huang pondered for a moment. A pity. I wanted to test the young lord during the examinations. But hearing that from you has dulled my interest considerably. There is no need for senior brother Shi Huang to trouble himself with such a brat. If the opportunity presents itself, I will clean him up, Song Yunfeng said. Just as well. This person. I haven't met him many times, but I have quite the dislike for him, Shi Huang snorted. Hearing that raised Song Yunfeng's suspicions. Seeing his reaction, Shi Huang laughed, and he said resentfully, an ugly matter. Back then, my father went to House Loulan, seeking Jiang Qing'e's hand for me. Ha ha, in the end, the two house lords rejected him. How dare they? They wanted to keep her for their son. A pity their son grew up so useless. How can he hold on to such a fine woman? Song Yunfeng was taken aback when he heard these words. Now he finally understood why the governor's family had moved in secret to support the revolution and help them devour House Loulan. So this was why? This video will end here.